So in doing what you do on a daily basis, because from like I've read a few of your blogs and I followed you on Facebook and all this kind of thing, and I know that you're fascinated by success and successful people.
Yeah.
And you've done a lot of research and investigate all the time. Is that right?
100%, absolutely.
Brilliant.
Absolutely.
So what is it? And you're a successful person in your own right as well. So on a daily basis, because our life is made up of the habits that we keep on a regular basis. On a daily basis, is there anything that specific that you do, like 3 or 4 things or regular things that you do in order to create the success that you have?
What an excellent question, because until I was shown what I'm about to share with you, everything was just rambled. I'm sure a lot of the viewers can associate to what I'm saying. Sometimes we get so overwhelmed with everything in our mind. So I'm going to share with you a couple of tips that I do, and I hope that it becomes helpful. And I hope I get some feedback on it on the social media, that if it has helped somebody, please let me know, because I know it works. I apply it in my life and I teach it to all my students. So when I wake up in the morning, I decide who I want to be. I simply decide who I want to be. What do I want to be today and what do I want to project to the world? I'm a very strong believer, through all the studies and all the people that I've spoken to, is that we do become what we think of the most. So if we focus, and maybe some of the viewers might associate to this, or you may have gone through this as well. Have you had a chance where maybe you're buying a car or looking for a specific type of car?
Yes.
And all of a sudden, if you're focused on a particular car, a particular model, a particular colour, and you've been looking at it for a few days, all of a sudden all these cars pop out of nowhere. I'm going to tell everybody now, it's not a conspiracy. There's not all these people trying to push all these cars into your world or into your realm. It happens because when you focus so much on one thing, all your mind can see is that. So if you wake up in the morning and you focus on opportunities, guess what? Your mind is going to attract all those opportunities. They don't magically appear, but what happens is that you're drawn, your focus is drawn closer to them. So the first thing that I do is I decide who I want to be. Do I want to be perceived as somebody who's doing things and getting things done? Or do I want to be somebody who's just sort of lingering around and waiting around? So I make that decision. So step 1 would be to make a decision to who you want to be. Step 2 is to get really clear on my goals. Now, a lot of us have all these goals in our mind and there's all these great things that we want to do, but none of us actually start writing them down. So that is the secret that I really want to share with you. Until somebody said to me, great that you've got all these goals, start writing them down. And then start separating them as to the things that I want to achieve in my life, which we call a bucket list, and start writing all the things that you want to do in your life. And also make a list of the things that are achievable. So, I teach the SMART strategy, where goals have to be specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timed. Now, a lot of us don't do this. A lot of us say, oh, I want to do this. I want to do this. Yeah? Now, it's a dream and a wish until you've got it down on paper with a clear strategy. So when people say to me, what do you do in your trainings, and a lot of the programs that I do, all I ever teach is just strategy. So how do we get something that is so big, and how do we divide it in 5 or 10 or 12 or 15 or 50 steps, and then utilize all the resources around me? See, it's never a matter of resources, because resources are all around us. It's always about being resourceful and really focusing on what is it that I really need. What do I need to achieve today to know that I can go home and be fulfilled that I've achieved something? And most of us just go with, I've got all this stuff in my head, but we never take the time to put it on paper. So I wake up in the morning, I decide who I want to be. Now this becomes an ongoing thing, so it becomes a daily habit or a daily ritual. This is just what we do every single day. I decide who I want to be, I focus on my goals, I write them down, and then my mind starts working with me. See, we have an amazing capability. Our mind, our conscious and unconscious mind, will always work to bring things into our physical realm.
So can I ask you a question? So when you say, because I'm guessing you've already written a lot of your goals for this year and going forward. So once you've decided who you're going to be, and you say you focus on your goals, is it a matter of that you've got them written down in a notebook and you read them every day? Is it a matter of you've got a vision board? Like, how do you do it?
Absolutely, yeah. I do have a vision board. I have a board that has my major goals and my major achievements. One of them was to meet and interview Dr. DeMartini not too long ago, which I got to do, which was an amazing thing because he's been a teacher of mine for 10 years. But what I encourage everybody to do and what I do all the time, see, if you're focused on where you want to go, I want to use an analogy. Can I use an analogy? Is that okay?
Love it, go ahead.
For those of you who drive, maybe you drive, maybe you've seen somebody get into a car and plot an address into a navigation system. Have you done that before?
Yes.
Good. So what's the first thing that happens when you put an address into the navigation system? First thing that it does, was that it will say, hold on, calculating, I need to decide exactly where you are. So what it does is it pinpoints exactly where you are.
Mm-hmm.
Then what you do is you put in a destination or a destiny or a goal where you ultimately want to end up.
Yeah.
So what happens once you put that goal in, first it needs to decide where you are, so you need to decide where you are and where you want to go. Once you do that, the navigation system will do everything in its power to keep you on track. Now, have you ever taken a wrong turn? What happens?
Well, if you've got a TomTom, it tells you, it lets you know that you've turned off track.
It tells you that you've turned off track and it brings you back on track.
Yeah.
And no matter where you go, if you pull over into a service station, if you pull over on the side of the road, if there's a speed hump, if there's a detour, it'll almost always, every single time, bring you back on track. And when you set your goals and you're so congruent and so aligned with your goals, every single day, you're going to be fighting the biggest enemy, which is distraction.
Mm.
So if I'm so clear on where I want to go, the only thing that will stop me is either laziness or distraction. It's never resources, because there are people all around us to help. You know, I've helped young entrepreneurs and young small people become young business people.
Small people.
Yeah, small people, because that's what they sometimes call themselves, because they are. When I talk about that, I talk about 14, 15, 16 years old.
Yeah.
You know, I've got somebody at the age of 16 who started his own skateboarding coaching. You know, and he never ever thought he could monetize and make some money out of a skill and the talent that he has. So we turn small people into small business people, yeah? And they absolutely love it. But they're going to be so focused on their goal that whatever distraction they get, they need to be strong enough to say no. And you'll only do that if you're so focused and dedicated and committed to your goal.